How many times have you interacted with someone with a disability? Odds are you have, because there's a lot of people with disabilities. I have interacted with multiple people with disabilities, and to be honest, sometimes it is kind of awkward. The only awkward part is that we sometimes see them as different than us, and we don't really know how to interact with them. That interaction barrier makes it awkward for them and awkward for us, and for some people with disabilities, it makes them have to make up in other areas of their life to try to be more normal. And that's what my book is about, called Laughing at My Nightmare by Shane Burcaw. In this book, he has spinal muscular atrophy, which is just a muscle disorder that really you lose control of your muscles. And for him, it's a large barrier muscle-wise, but mentally he makes up for it. So by reading this book, it has thoroughly showed me how to prioritize my worries, how to treat others, and how to find humor in everything. So the first thing that this book has showed me is how to reconsider your worries. In Shane's life, he had particularly a rough time growing up. As a child with a muscular disease, you can't have an easy beginning. And in Shane's beginning of his life, he had to rely on other people, as he still does. To get out of bed, he would have to be picked up by people, and to go to the bathroom, it's not the most pleasant way to use the bathroom. Other people would have to help him. So, life gets tough, but Shane challenges us to think about whether the things that we worry about are really things that need to be worried about. You think about your GPA, your grades, and those worry us about, those things worry us, but for him, what worries him is just how he's going to get out of bed in the morning, or who's going to dress him. So he really shows us how to reconsider our worries in life. And the second thing that this book has taught me is that how we treat others shouldn't be based on what they have, like what disabilities they have. In this book, Shane has his physical disabilities, but mentally he's grown a whole lot. And by doing this, he's compensated for his physical disabilities by being a little bit more vulgar, which makes the book really a lot interesting because it's a true way that we talk. He explains himself through his words, and it's pretty funny. He has a funny sense of humor that makes him seem pretty normal, because when you have a physical disability, you can open up to people through your humor, and this is how he does it. But when he interacts with people, he can be funny, but he also can be pretty straightforward, which raises the question of, when he makes fun of his disability and he invites you to make fun of it, do you really make fun of his disability because he's asking you to, or are you making fun of his disability because you're awkward with the situation? So you really have to ask yourself if you're being fair to that person based on what they're doing to you. In one of the situations in the book, he's in a college class, and he loses control of his neck muscles, and his head falls backwards. So he asks one of the people beside him to lift up his head, and he's pretty funny about it. And by doing that, he gains a friend, because that person had to go through an awkward situation with him. And, when you go through awkward situations with people, it makes you more in tune with them. So by doing that, he kind of makes us feel sympathy for him, but he also asks us to not feel sympathy for him. So it's an awkward situation, you don't know what to think, but by reading the book, you can kind of judge for yourself. And it's a fun thing to judge for yourself, because it's a debatable situation, so it's really interesting to read up on. So I encourage you to read the book to find what you think about this. The third thing that this book has taught me is how to have a good laugh and maybe cringe at some things. His personality is one that resembles no other. He's hilarious because it's just the way he was born, and he has grown a little in his humor because of his physical disability, but he is himself a hilarious person. He uses some harsh language, but being teenagers, we all can relate to that. And I've been rolling whenever I read what he talks about, and his humor will make you realize that there's really nothing to worry about. My favorite thing that Shane does is when he's sarcastic regarding his disability. He's always cracking jokes, and he's just hilarious. I really highly recommend this book because of his humor. So reading and thoroughly understanding Laughing at My Nightmare will help you be more inclusive by showing you how to prioritize your worries. And then secondly, showing you how to treat others. And thirdly, by helping you find the humor in everything, because there's always humor to find. I encourage you to read this not only for the humor though, but to see from someone else's perspective. You know, we live on this planet and we see through our own eyes, but sometimes we need to see through others' eyes. So I encourage you to read this and see yourself through Shane's eyes and his life experiences, so that you can not only laugh at his nightmare, but laugh at your own nightmare.